Hey everyone, it's Tim from Lenos Farm Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. So I wanted to take some time really quick to talk to you about mixing feed. Now the finished product that we're going to be making today is right here. This is a lower end protein creep feed mix that we make. It's primarily corn based, but you know, this dry cracked corn can be a little powdery. So we're going to mix in some liquids with it. And that's basically what I wanted to talk with you about today. Is if you mix up your feed at home, the issue that you could potentially run into is that you need to keep those dry ingredients properly suspended in your feed. That is to say, if we're adding things like, limestone, if we're adding medications like rumensin or decox, any kind of dry powder material. The problem is if you don't have your feed coated properly, it's going to fall out of the suspension after you finish mixing it. You're going to have all your dry, larger stuff and all your powder stuff at the bottom. We don't want to do that. That can actually be dangerous for multiple reasons. We have to have things evenly distributed. So what I want to do today is I want to show you how you get all of your ingredients in your homemade mix evenly distributed. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, the first thing I want to tell you, if you don't have one of these yet, you need to get one. This is a cement mixer. This is worth its money. I will tell you that. I have people that want to try to hand mix and do things like that. It just does not work. Go to Harbor Freight, go to a cheap store, look online, look on Facebook Marketplace, find yourself a mixer. It's going to cost you a couple $100. It is well worth it. Your feed quality is going to be way, way better. And it's going to be mixed properly, and that is very important. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of hassle. And again, this is the most safe thing for your animals. So the very first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put all of my larger feed materials inside my mixer. So in this case, that's going to consist of whole corn. It's going to consist of some alfalfa meal pellets. It's going to consist of some soybean, and I'm going to get that put in here right now. All right, so I've got my larger dry materials in here now. I'm going to go ahead and mix them up. So I've got some whole corn, I've got some barley, I have some alfalfa, and I've got some soybeans, some rolled roasted soybeans. So I'm going to give this a quick mix, these large ingredients, just for a second, get it spun up, and then we're going to coat it. All right, so just enough to spin it up, just enough to get it evenly mixed, as you can see here. Now the next trick is going to be, we want this larger mix to become sticky. We want it to become tacky, because the next thing we're going to add is our powdered ingredients. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a well in the middle of this, just like that. And I'm going to add in, I already have it all pre-measured up, and I'm going to add in about 4 cups of molasses. I'm going to put that in there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover that up. That way when I fire this up, it's not going to want to stick to my paddles. So now I'm going to give that a quick spin and get everything coated. All right, so if you look now, you can see everything is adequately coated. Everything is nice and sticky in there. This is exactly what I need, and this is where I'm going to be able to add my powdered ingredients. So a couple things that I'm going to plan to add to this mix. I've got some rumensin that I've already pre-measured out. I'm going to add that to the mix. It is very dusty, grainy. I also have some cranbone powder. This is our own green apple feed flavoring additive. I'm going to add that as well. I'm also going to add some crushed limestone and some sodium bicarb. I'll go ahead and measure those out. So I'm actually going to leave this tilted at about detent 3. I'm going to fire it up, and while it's mixing, I'm going to add my powders in there. This is my limestone. This is my sodium bicarb. So I'm just going to mix this up. now, if you actually were to look up close at this, what you're going to see is everything is evenly distributed. It's stuck to that tacky feed in there, and that's going to help us. So now when we want to add in some things like our cracked corn, it's not going to form into little globs and balls and become unevenly spread. So next thing I'm going to add to this is my cracked corn. I've already cracked this. We crack all of our corn fresh, so it's ready to go. I like to have it mixing when I add the cracked corn in. And as you can see, this is pretty powdery. If I were to feed this, if I were to actually feed this the way it is, it's too dry. They're gonna choke on it, they're gonna cough and have all kinds of problems. You can see how dry and powdery that is. And by mixing it in with this wet material, what we're gonna get is we're gonna get a nice even consistency that is no longer wet and powdery. It's gonna cake it all up really nicely together. Okay, so now everything's pretty evenly and consistently mixed. Still needs a little bit more help. So what I'm gonna do now is I actually have a little bit more wet ingredients that I'm gonna add to it. At this point, I'm going to take some of my liquid protein additive. This is mixed 30, 16% protein and 10% fat. I'm going to pour this in here. I'm going to cover it up quickly, again, just to help it so it doesn't stick, and we're going to give that a spin. Most of the products that you see on our video today can be purchased from our website at www.lanessafarms.com. Make sure you check us out online. Make sure you also check us out on Facebook. We have a group forum that is at Lanessa Farms Tac Box. It's free, it's moderated, and there's plenty of people just like you on there. It's a safe and educational place for you to ask questions and get answers. Again, that's Lanessa Farms Tac Box. At this point, I'm going to add in, this is brewer's yeast. I'm just going to add this in and let it dust itself in. All right, and we are almost there. Just for good favor, I really like to add in, so you can already see the consistency that we're at now. We're no longer getting anything powdery or dry. It's all nice and thick. I'm going to add in, this is some of our high octane feed additive. Now you don't have to add all this stuff in. Again, we are just showing you what you need to do for the process of mixing wets and dries together. So I'll fire this up, mix it up a little bit more. At this point, I'll just bring my trash can over. I like to do this, that way when I start tipping it farther forward, if I get any spillage, I don't have to worry about it going on the ground. And that's it. It's just that easy. It's nice, evenly coated, ready to go. The animals are absolutely going to love it. This mix comes out to right around 12% protein. I like to scoop from the back to the front. That way I'm sure I add just a little bit more to the mix. as you can see, we've got a really, really nice feed here. Everything's evenly distributed in it. The animals just absolutely love this. They're going to go after it really, really well. Last but not least, the thing that I like to do at the very end is I always like to take a scraper. That way I don't get buildup. It's a lot easier to just knock this down. You're going to get a slight amount of buildup. Try to scrape it. Scrape it clean every time. Just take a few seconds to do that. It'll help you out. It'll pay dividends. We don't want any kind of buildup in here if we can help it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but a little bit goes a long way to help make life easier later on down the road. Now, again, we have videos showing you exactly how to do the math and how to figure out protein and things like that. And you can check that out right here. If you haven't seen it before, we'll show you how to do all the calculations. But the point of this video was to show you how to mix the wet and the dry together so you get a nice even distribution. I'm Tim from Lanessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.